Welcome to Becoming the Sun with Joita. I am your host, and this is a podcast where we talk about all the ways we can illuminate our lives and the lives of others by practicing self-development, spirituality, learning a little bit about metaphysics. And today I am so excited to have my beautiful new friend. Literally, it's been like 3 weeks, I think, since we've known each other, Mathilde from A Return to the Heart on my show. And I just want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank
How are
you.
you?
I'm so excited for this. You have no idea. I think it's still so wild that we met like just a couple weeks ago on Instagram and now we're here doing this podcast. Like, I just know that from the conversations we've had, there's still so much to explore. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see what we talk about and yeah, what we get to uncover.
I love it. I love it. And I think originally we had said, well, first of all, thank you for being here. I'm so excited as well. I think originally, first we had talked about finding each other on Activation Vibrations profile. But
I think so.
do you know who I really think it was?
Ooh.
Did we talk about this yet? Halo Soul.
I have goosebumps.
Is that it? Was
Why do
that
I have goosebumps? I rarely have goosebumps.
that's amazing. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, because I was looking at her page and I was like, I think I saw a comment of yours and I was like, no, I think it was her. And I'm like, I mean, they're both like super wonderful and lovely, like spiritual teachers and whatnot. But I'm like, I think it was her that
It's
kind of
so
brought us
amazing.
together.
That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Because did you not? Oh my gosh, because you shared something from her story. I think you reposted it on your story. And so I think she shared that. And that's when I saw you. I mean, I don't even know how we started the interaction, to be honest, but that is very much possible that it was through her. Yeah.
I love it. I love
Was it
it.
the thing with the blue eye?
Oh
The
my God, it was the evil eye.
That's what I'm
Wow,
seeing.
wow, wow. That's so
I'm literally just seeing it like
yeah.
in my mind's eye, and so I'm like, yeah, that's what connected us.
That's crazy. And I'm so grateful because in the sea of social media, it's like it's very difficult to find people that are like authentic and that are open and that are vulnerable and that are like I don't I immediately was drawn to you because you have such a beautiful angelic, like I've said this before, like godlike presence. And it's just such a breath of fresh air. And I know I say this too, but like you're so young still. You just recently turned 25. Happy belated birthday, by the way. So it's
Thank you.
just so refreshing. And so I'm so excited we get to connect. And you've been on the spiritual journey or spiritual path for how long would you say?
Since I was 16, I think,
Yeah.
because it was the moment. I don't know if you know the story actually.
I would love to hear if you'd love to share. I don't think I know it
You
either.
you don't know it?
I refresh my memory. I think I might a little
Okay.
bit.
Um, yeah, so at the age of 16, I was so convinced that I wanted to do veterinary medicine. Like I had set up all my middle school and high school to study veterinary medicine, to go to the best high school, university. I was a very studious child, so, I was just, also trying to be this little perfect student, but I was very ambitious. And when I went to a summer school, it was like a summer camp in the veterinary medicine school in London. And I did it. It was great. It was amazing. And I also realized that it was not for me. And I think after that, that was the biggest identity crisis that I had because I had built up my whole life around veterinary medicine. Like even when I was in middle school, because I'm the fourth child, and my siblings had already, done the whole system, I knew what I had to do in school to go to university and everything. So I had set up all my school years for vet. And when I realized that it wasn't for me, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm midway through my like high school and what do I do with my life then if it's not that? And at that moment, my mother, who was already in spirituality and self-development, she was like, Mathilde, like, you should go see the psychotherapist, energetic healer. Like, don't think about it. Just go see for yourself. And I went to the session. I remember it was in Paris. Yeah, it was not even in the same city as I live in. I went to Paris. And that man changed my life because he was seeing me in ways that no one had ever seen me. He was saying things about me. I was like, how do you know this? I've told no one. Like, how can you know all these things about me and feel me so deeply? And then let's talk about the energetic session he gave me. I felt like I was on cloud nine afterwards. Like I felt high on life. And so that was the moment where I felt cracked open and I was like, yeah, you know what? I think there's more to life than school and university and good grades and money and like academic achievement and like making it in life. And I started myself like following accounts about health and like yeah, just different ways of like nourishing yourself and things on mindfulness, meditation, yoga. Yoga was like the portal for me to spirituality. But I got really interested in coaching, and I knew at that moment, actually, my senior year, I was like, okay, I'm not doing vet, but I want to be a coach. I was seeing, I think that was when there was a big boom of like online coaches. I don't know if you remember, but there were a lot of people, yeah, like booming in the industry, and it was a lot to do with like wellness and health and all these things. And I was like, I want to do that. But at that time, I was just, I was in a space and time where like, lol, doing anything online was like unheard of in my family. Just no. And then I was like, but you have to get a diploma in like coaching. And then I knew that also, what does it mean to be a coach? I know that in my family and again in my area, it's not recognized. It's not really a job. It's not a real thing. And so I was like, damn it, like what do I do? And there was also the aspect that I was so shy. I was, yeah, extremely shy. So anything public speaking, showing myself up there, speaking, sharing my voice, my
No
truth,
way.
it was so,
Really?
yeah. Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was so shy. So there were a lot of like different hurdles, but that was basically the beginning of my path started in that way. Yeah, it was knowing, oh my gosh, I'm not meant to be a vet. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this like online business coaching thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it didn't happen right away, but yeah, there have been many trials along the way.
That's beautiful. I think the most important piece that you've said right there is the fact that your mom told you to, like, invited you to check out,
Yeah,
seek spiritual counsel. Have
yeah,
you, did you dabble in that prior to that experience? Did you ever see anyone
yeah,
before? Oh, you had.
yeah,
Okay, okay. So it
yeah.
wasn't new to you.
Yes, because Juina, I promise I was a very shy child, and my mom was like, "This child has a problem." No,
Wow.
it's not
That's
that
so
I had a
hard to believe.
problem.
That's so hard
No,
to
it's
believe.
not.
At what
It,
age did you crack from being, because I resonate, the more you talk, the more I'm like, oh, I resonate with you so much, because I was such a shy, meek, quiet, well-behaved, like wouldn't, people pleaser to the max, like still trying to overcome that. So when you say that you were shy and now I see you today, like even though we've only known each other like less than a month, which is so wild, you are so bubbly and like effervescent and confident. So it's like, so what, that's so beautiful. So what helped you kind of, I'm just like, these questions are just, I don't even have anything written down. I'm just like constant flow of consciousness right now. So at what point was it like, were you able to just feel that confidence and be able to be more open? Was it when you started embarking more on like your authentic path?
so yeah, when I knew I didn't want to do vet, that is when things just like boom opened up to me, and I was sensitive, I was more open. I was like, okay, I want to do this. This is really what I love. Oh, like I'm feeling all these things. The nature is saying this to me. God is showing me that. Like I was very open. But to me, like the key ingredient that was always missing is like I'm not sharing it, you know? So I had traveled to LA, to Miami all alone. I went to Bali, I went to Costa Rica, I did my yoga teacher training. I did all these travels solo and I was learning so much, but I was not sharing anything. And unfortunately, I hit a stage. I went through anorexia, and that to me was like the biggest catalyst to get me moving and to show my voice. And now in retrospect, I'm like, wow, when you think of anorexia, to me, any disorder, whether it's an eating disorder or anything else, any disease that you have, it reflects something in your emotional state, in your mental state. It's all integrated, right? It's not just mundane that you have the condition that you have. And now that I think about it, it's like I was literally disappearing, like physically, if I show you a photo of how I was 3 years ago, there's no way you would say that's Mathilde unless you really look into my eyes because my eyes haven't changed. But yeah, I became unrecognizable, I prior to that I was someone like I was a gym bunny. I was going to the gym all the time. I was a yoga teacher. I was an acro yoga teacher. So I was always moving. I was very active and healthy, but I think internally my soul was like, you still haven't done it, Mathilde. Like you still haven't gotten yourself out there and you still haven't shared your purpose and your dharma, which is really to create an online community. And so it took me to literally become like a skeleton with no hair. Like I lost all my hair and just like I lost so much weight. I was, yeah, and mentally it was very difficult. I was in the darkest tunnel of my life, probably. And that to me was my second identity crisis because physically I couldn't recognize who I was, and that is, when you feel like someone took away your body, it is very, very it's difficult. It's like the huge ego death because it's like, who am I if I'm not, this body? Especially because I had attached a lot of value to my body and who I was and what I appeared like and yeah, it's the physical. But I think from that point on, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. So in full on anorexia, I was minus 20 kilos now, and I started sharing on Instagram, and I remember I'll never forget this. The first post that I put, now, okay, in my high school years, I had shared on Instagram before, like me and my best friends and like, woo, Ibiza trip and like all these whatever cute things. But like, I wanted to share soul purpose messages. I wanted to share things from my heart, like things that I didn't share before because it was always an image, a facade. And so the first thing I shared, it was a flower, but it meant a lot to me because it was a really pretty flower and it was something that touched me. And I was like, "Ah, but if I put this flower, what is everyone going to think about me?" And I remember I was in the car and I think my mom was next to me and my heart was racing. My heart was like, I was like, I don't feel good. Not a good idea. And I put that damn photo and yeah, it just started from there. And honestly, it's been a lot of like just continue, 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 because when you are someone who has never trusted your voice and you don't know what your voice sounds like, you don't know what your self-expression sounds like or looks like, it takes time to figure that out. And so I gave myself time to figure out like, what do I like and how do I like to share? And, because I'm also someone that as soon as I see someone doing something, I'm like, "Oh, let me try that." And so I try on all these different things because I can do all these different things, but it takes me time to pinpoint like what is my voice, what is my expression. And so the confidence comes with just doing it over and over and over and over again. And I don't know if that's the answer people want to hear, but it's true. It's the more you do it, the more you realize like, wow, I survived. Oh my gosh, how cool. And you keep doing it over and over again. And now, what seemed horrible 3 years ago, I thought I was gonna have a panic attack. I do it in seconds and I move on and I do the next thing, it's really retraining and rewiring the brain to what the brain has perceived as like fear and unsafe and like, no, 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 danger zone, don't go there. It's telling your brain again, like, hey, actually, it's totally safe. And this is where we're actually going now. And doing it, at your own pace.
Yeah.
Um, that is how it all weaves back together. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and thank you for sharing that. That's a tremendous amount of growth in such a short period of time. And I feel like it's not talked enough about when you're young, not knowing like where to really navigate. And there, like you mentioned, at university, and there's all these, institutions, higher education institutions that are set up. And especially when you're young and fragile, and you have the bombardment from like what your friends are doing, what your parents are doing, what the lineage of your family, like ancestors have done. And then you're trying to figure out like, where do I fit in this mold? But I don't fit in this mold, but like, where do I fit in? So the fact that you like mentioned the ego deaths and not really knowing who you are and going through, like, thank you for sharing the anorexia thing, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that struggle, with that, because the bombardment, hello, just societal expectations on women is absolutely insane. So knowing that you surpass that. And I also want to talk about in a moment your remind me if I forget, but I listened to your podcast about the past creeping up on you, and I think that was your first episode. I think I listened to a little bit of, but real quick before I get into that, it's so important to, yeah, allow, like you said, allow yourself to play and to try new things, and you put yourself in environments that made you uncomfortable, but also you knew that that was something that your soul wanted. So on that, going from the past, like moving towards the future and not allowing your past to um stop you, how has that, because I know you mentioned a little bit how like the gym situation, and how you'd go to the gym previously and it was more so of like vanity, right? Or receiving validation, and now it's more so, you know, how it makes you feel. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you still notice a little bit of the past? Like, is the past, it's a continual thing, right? The past kind of creeping, and us knowing how to like take the next step forward from the current present moment, not allowing the past projections to dictate our future.
Yeah. Well, I think, like you said it, the first thing is identifying it.
Yeah.
Like when you have this thing popping up and you're like, oh, I need this thing, right? Like, for example, for me, it was the gym. Like, why do I need to go there? Do I really want to go there? Do I really feel like it's going to be fun, amazing? Like, I'm excited. It makes me happy. Or am I going there to get something, to validate myself externally? Like, what am I really getting from the situation? Um, and that's how you can make wiser choices, I guess, if you're recreating the past or you're choosing something else. And right now, it's funny that you bring this situation up because I was doing my groceries earlier this morning and I walked in front of the gym and I'm like, there was still this thing of like, oh, I want to go there and like see what's going on. And then I tapped into the energy of the space and I'm like, but that's just not me anymore. Like, in all honesty, there was time in my life, like I said, right after high school, I got really into health and fitness. I loved the gym. The gym, I would spend hours researching about workouts and like muscles and all these things. Like I was passionate about it. But today, I'm no longer in that space. And so why do I go to the gym now? Is it just to feel good and physically to sweat and like the endorphins and it's good for you? You know, we need to move our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I really honestly answer that, it's like, no, it's not really for that. Like,
Mm.
there's still a part of me that's like, oh, I have to go to the gym because that is the only way that it'll be a nice body, or like I need to go to the gym because I know that I get attention from this person, this person, this person, this person, or because I know I have a job opportunity there, or because I know this person was interested in contacting me for whatever. And then it's like, yo, okay. And I thought you didn't want any of this, Mathilde. You know, like go back to your intention right now. What are you creating for yourself? And yeah, it's hard because sometimes it really asks you, you have to like suck yourself out of the environment to see these things and
Yeah.
to reevaluate, to reassess. That's what I did with the gym, right? Like I had a 1 month membership because I knew that I didn't want to stay there for like a full year. Just because I knew I was still in the space of like, what does it mean for me? And when you still have this question where you're still a bit not weak, but like vulnerable in your head and your heart, then just don't go there for a while and figure it out for yourself. Like, what do I really need from this?
Yeah.
And this is the gym, right? But it
Yeah.
could be a person. Is it an ex? Is it a past best friend or like a teacher, a mentor, or like a school, a living situation, living environment? It could be anything, a career, like it could be anything that people attach themselves to, like to feel something. We all want to
Yes.
feel something at the end of the day. So, yeah, the easiest thing is, to me personally, I find is it is giving yourself that space and that break of like, let me just feel what it's like to be me without this thing. And then let me ask myself the questions, why do I need this thing? Because inherently, like I'm worthy just by myself and I'm okay just the way that I am. I don't need this thing. So if I feel like I'm like needing something from this thing, like let me ask myself why. And that's where the attention and the energy is needed, not in this thing and feeding more of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much external. That's the biggest thing, is there's so much external noise, and the expectations and the validation and the, like you said, familial. We crave what is familiar. even if that familiar feeling isn't safe,
Yeah.
even if that familiar feeling is toxic. So the ability to, like, you have the ability to break, like, you separate, like, you have the internal and the external, and you're like, what do I want? What is the intention? And I think that's such an important question to ask even every single day. Like, what is my intention with the day? What is my intention with my thought process? What is my intention with going out in the world today and interacting with people? And I can relate so much to your yoga story, because just recently, within the last couple of months, I've been getting back into doing hot yoga and hot Pilates with a girlfriend of mine. And 14 years ago, we started this whole adventure. And I am in yoga class these days, and I think back to how I was to myself 14 years ago, and I'm a completely different person, because now I'm going in, enjoying it, reveling in the fact that my body can do these movements versus comparing myself. My God, in my early 20s, I would compare myself to every single person in the class, and making sure I was doing the right move, making sure I didn't look stupid. And now it's like, I'm okay if I look stupid, as long as I'm doing the movement and having fun, and just, like, I go in there wanting to feel good and wanting to just to honor my body. And it's just crazy how you could, morph and, like, metamorphosize yourself from certain traits that you used to have. And I think the self-awareness piece is obviously like the umbrella of all of it, because you have to constantly know what you're doing, why you're doing it, what the intention is, what you're wanting to seek out of it, right? and
Yeah.
and I just think that's so powerful. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it's knowing that also if we can't do that all the time, like it's okay because we're
Yeah.
not perfect and we are gonna make mistakes and we are gonna follow what our ego wants over our hearts and we are gonna choose to not listen to our intuition and we like it's also okay to not do that.
Yeah. 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 And showing up authentically, I think, too, also is a massive, not following the trend of what other people are doing, because
Yeah.
that's hard, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah, and
Yeah.
being able, the ability to tap in. So I wanted to ask you about authenticity, because your authenticity and your platform, just even on just on Instagram, is so empowering, and I view it from such a lens of, like, it's so, with everything that you share and everything that you post, it's like you're giving a permission slip for everyone that's watching to embody who they want to be and who they want to become. And I love that you're following, I just, and I love that you're following your heart. And like, yeah, everything that you share was just so, is just so beautiful and empowering. And I think it's so important, especially now more than ever, with the social media, and with just filters, and with, people being scared to really open up and, say who they are, for the fear of being rejected by others. You are that voice, I feel, that is very, that's just a breath of fresh air. Has that been a difficult thing, or has it come natural for you to show up every single day, or however you post or share content? Is that something you find easy, would you say?
Yeah, today, yes. Today
Yeah,
it's like second nature.
yeah,
Um, like I said, it's so normal, and I think sometimes I need to celebrate how far I've come because,
yes.
like I said before, like I came from a childhood I never spoke. I was always in my shell. People didn't know the sound of my voice in class unless you were my friend. Like I was just like so scared of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, blah, getting embarrassed, making a fool of myself. Um, and today I'm like, yeah, there are it I don't know. I guess I've trained my brain so much, so much that I now I'm like, oh, okay, like this is just normal for me. And sometimes, of course, that the thought will still creep up, like the fear of, oh no, don't do this. Like this is going to be weird. No one's going to like this. Or why do you want to share this? This is not important. Who cares? But I see it and I do it anyways. And
Mhm.
that's the whole therapy, you
And
know?
that's, yeah,
It's the same as like I remember when I was in full anorexia, it's like when you have you have a lot of these abusive, not abusive, destructive thoughts that they're like, oh no, don't do this or don't do that, like all these things. And the whole therapy was like, identify the thought. Is it true? Okay, take action. Not true. I'm still alive and we're good. And it's the same with like sharing online. If you have this fear, it's like why am I afraid? And then reevaluating, is that true? Am I really gonna die? No, you're not gonna die, Matilda. And then okay. Post and then see, oh yeah, I'm still alive. Wow. Um, and to me, I always vouch this to myself, like if I'm doing this whole social media thing, if I really want to build an online community, then I'm gonna 100% be authentic. That is like straightforward, that I'm doing that. I'm not building this up on like yeah, a fake account or like just putting on a mask. Like no, because I want depth. I want my Instagram community and my page to be the same depth that I find in my connections and my one-on-ones. That is what I crave. It's the soul connection. I don't want my page to be just this like photo album, like, oh, everything's beautiful. Because that's the thing. When I started off, I was very like, oh, it's very aesthetic and clean because I have that eye as well. Like I love to take photos and I have an artist heart, so it's very normal for me to see beauty in everything. But then it's like it doesn't have to be also curated. That's what I'm saying. Like I actually today I love stumbling on pages where there's depth and meaning and oh, it's kind of messy, but I think I like that. And it's beautiful too. And today sometimes when I do find these beautifully curated pages, sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, that's too clean. Why is someone like it's very interesting to notice these things and sometimes it is purely aesthetic and it's very beautiful. Some people do it very like beautifully and it's gorgeous. And there are other times I think people hide themselves behind perfection and behind the beauty and behind the aesthetic. And you sense that because you're not touching the soul of the person. And what I really wanted to do, I was like, okay, Matilda, I know you love these things and you love nature and you love beauty and you love this aesthetic. And like, how can you just let your soul shine through and your personality and who you are? Um, and I really wanted that to shine through. And I'm noticing today I'm more and more attracted to pages and accounts where people show that. It's informational. There's information, there's value, but there's also bubbliness and goofiness, and there's a personality radiating through. And then there's the love, there's the presence, there's the care, and it's just like this beautiful like mesh of things. And it's not just this like perfect thing, like very, I guess also predictable, because that's kind of what happens when you're playing it safe. So I say this, but I still have these thoughts even today. I was like, oh no, but like, should I make my Instagram more aesthetic then? Like, is that what's pushing people off? Because I have this tendency. I'm always asking myself the question, like, how can I be better? How can I do better? How can I improve? And it's like, Jesus, Matilda, stop. Because yes, and like, can you just love yourself now and like be okay with you now? Um, but yeah, I think the key is about like, you know what? Okay, you want a secret? Because this
Yes.
is something that really changed everything for me. I'm someone, I love to send my friends like videos of myself talking. I actually haven't done that like the month of August because I was in France, but like I always send myself like talking to my friends with my like a video. And I was like, damn, like that is me. Like it's so me. I was like rewatching the videos and I was like, that's me. And I was like, okay, the goal is to make the videos that I send to my friends, I do it on Instagram. Like that
Oh,
was the goal because I knew that that's me. Like there's no filter, there's no like editing, there's no crop, there's no whatever. It's like this is me. Okay, let's put it on Instagram. And that has been the goal. That was like my vision. I was like, I want to be as comfortable as I am in my WhatsApp DMs than I am on my Instagram. And that's personal to me. I think that's my soul journey. That's what my soul wants. But I don't think it's for everyone. But I know that's what my soul wants and needs. And so, yeah, that was kind of like my metric. I was like, okay, I know this is me. So like, can I show up as that on Instagram? Yeah.
and that feeling of, am I gonna die? What's the worst that can happen? What is that anxiety that seeps in when you hit it when you share a post that has a shred of vulnerability? What the heck is that? That indecision, that anxiety, like and what, like you said, you broke it apart so beautifully. You're like, but did I die? Like, I think that our souls I mean, I personally, even going out interacting with people getting groceries and checking out at the grocery line, like talking to the representative or the associate, I get so much satisfaction from just like having a soul conversation. Even, just like seeing the human behind the profession, seeing the human behind the screen on Instagram, and the
Yeah.
aesthetics, like you said, like,
Mhm.
oh my God, like, and I feel like the more you seep into more of like your authenticity, and you're kind of excavating all the things that, like, all the barriers and limitations, and I should act like this, other women are acting like this, I should act like, when you finally break free from that, it's like when you're interacting with others, now you have this, like, this lens of, I only want those connections. I only want to interact with those people who can see me and who can reciprocate, right?
Ah, I'm getting
I
goosebumps.
know, and it's like, it like fills my heart up so much, but it's like
Yeah.
so beautiful, and I feel like our world needs that so much right now. And I know that you love Bashar and you're into metaphysics. We haven't got delved into that topic too much yet, but like, we are literally living in such an amazing freaking time. I'm so grateful, like, for this period in our lives. I mean, the whole like 40 to 5, like, what's your opinion on the shift, the new earth? Can I ask that first?
Mhm.
Mm.
Thank you for your question because a new earth is a hashtag I use all the time on my posts, but I've never been asked what it really means. So this is a beautiful question that you're asking me because it's asking me to reflect. Actually, what does it mean to me? To me, a new earth, I see the duality in our on our planet, and I see that play out for still a long time, just because we are still very dense. And to me, the vision of the new earth, I don't even know if we as humans right now, as we are in our age and time, you and I at our age, I don't think we can even see where we're going. I don't know. Unless you have visions. I don't personally have visions of where our ascension is going. Um, but what I'm seeing is what I'm feeling, what I call the new earth, which of course I see what the new earth means to me and what it can mean for us, but I've never actually connected with like the energetic of what Gaia, where it's going. To me, it means that we don't have to suffer um to live. Like we don't have to work hard to earn a life. We don't have to trade our life and our energy to enjoy ourselves. I feel like pleasure, joy, and passion, it needs to be at the core of like our life, and it can't just be this like bonus thing. I think that's kind of
On the
messed up.
weekends, on the weekends only.
Yeah. Or on the holidays, if you're lucky to have any. Um, I think those need to be core beliefs as well as community. How can we share our resources? Like, for example, I will offer my meditations, Joita, you will offer your podcast, and then we're gonna have someone else offer her space for a meditation retreat or whatever. I don't know. But it's like, how can we create in a community, share our resources because we each have value? And that's the thing. To me, the new earth, it focuses on the value that each person can bring.
Inherent
What
value, not like a cog in a
Yes.
wheel in a company doing a task that, it's so irrelevant, but like our soul authentic, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, medicine.
And I mean, yes, maybe for some people it is about being a doctor because we need
True,
those.
true.
Or working at a bank. I don't if the bank still exists in the new earth. Actually, I don't think currency works in that way. No. But we need those jobs, and I think we need to rewrite the whole system of like who is at the top, right? Who is who is at the top? And what do we really believe as a society? That poor us, we are victims to the society. Life is so hard. We need to battle through this. Um, like it's a privilege if you're happy or if you have the means to do something. Like all these things, like, do you have access to water? Do you have access to healthcare? Do you have access to eat, to food? Do you have access to a shelter? Do you have access to education? All these things, a new earth kind of sounds like heaven. Um, and I don't even know if duality exists on the new earth. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's so far ahead, but I think what we are doing right now is we're tapping in the 50 years to come.
Yes.
And that new earth, I don't think it's the new earth. I don't think we'll be alive to experience the new earth, but we're definitely here to actually do the whoop, pendulum swing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we can tap and like even see, because it's like our ego's like, yo, what are you talking about? Because it's so out there. Um, but I think we are contributing to the collapse and to the transition. And I
Yeah.
think this is literally what's called, right? The era of transition. Is that what
The great shift or something.
I believe it's the Aquarian age that we're
Oh,
in, right?
yeah.
Um, there's a beautiful movie. I don't know what it's called in English. Oh, I think no, I think it's called No Solar. No Solar. Have you heard of it?
No.
To me it's kind of not really on that topic, but it talks a lot about incarnation. It's from a Brazilian movie producer, I believe. And it talks a lot about incarnation and soul purpose and soul mission. And it's really beautiful because it talks about like after death, where do you go? And this man, so first of all, there's the whole like trial, I guess, like your karma, you go through your karma and like all the dense energies after death, like you encounter all these different souls as well. But then after that, depending on how your life was, you arrive in this state. It's like the higher realms, and you're greeted with like this amount of love. And there's only angels and guardian angels, and they have like the records, and they have like the people that are coming after death, because you have to accompany the soul that just died from the physical body, and they're accompanying that soul. And it's really beautiful to see how the angels above and the guardian angels, how it's all just so divine. And how this life, me, Mathilde, 25, living in Brussels, in Belgium, born in France, you, Joita, in the United States, in Arizona,
Yes.
um like all of it, us meeting today, 17th of August, 16th of
16.
August,
Yeah.
it's all divine. What I have today, what you have today, it's all divine. And like the way that we grew up, it had to be that way to be where you are, to be where I am, for us meeting.
Mm.
And yeah, that's a tangent to the new earth,
It's not
but
a tangent. That's beautiful because I have, let me know. Oh, I just want to, the fact that you said, just real quick, am I interrupting? Or you want to continue?
no, no,
Oh,
no, go, go, go,
okay.
go.
Because you hit it on the freaking head, girl. Like, I feel like these last few years for me personally, I have been healing so much of like inner child and doing so much like really like just soul work. But you just hit it so beautifully on the head by saying that like we wouldn't be who we are today if we hadn't gone through, the childhood we had. We wouldn't be who we are if we hadn't gone through the experience. And just knowing that everything is divine, knowing like you bring up angels, and it's such a funny thing because I'll talk about angels and I'll post about them on on my Instagram, and then it's like when I'm out in the world or doing something, I get so frustrated and I forget. Okay, well, I'm just a spiritual being having a human experience, whatever the situation that I'm going through right now is meant. Like this last week, Troy was in the hospital for 3 nights, and it was like a devastating experience. And it was so stressful. But I can, like, when I sat back and I'm like, everything is working out best case scenario, like God has this planned, like, when you can lean into that knowing that everything is unfolding, as it's meant to, it's such like a wave of relief. And I think that is such, a lot of people I feel like don't have access to that thought stream, and it like breaks my heart because I want everyone to know, like, because the thing with the new earth, and I feel the wonderful thing I feel about the direction that we're going is I feel so many people are opening up their hearts to spirituality and to um not calling it woo woo, but more so embracing that it's the reality, although it's the unseen. Even though we'll talk about that, how you interpret angels and guides, because I'm fascinated and curious about that. But I don't see them. I feel them in my heart. You know, it's I don't. I know some people have the vision of that. Do you see them? It's so random.
I'm smiling because I don't see them. So I mean, first of all, there are different ways to communicate with the angels, right? Um, I love communicating with angels through like numbers, through nature, signs, and symbols. I see them all the time, like everywhere. Signs, symbols, words, songs playing, someone saying something, and I'm like, oh, this person said something, this is for me. Or the way that nature like moves and creates shapes and just the artistry. You always have numbers everywhere on your bill, on everything. Like the time, that's the easiest one, but like the numbers on the streets, anything, everywhere.
Yeah.
That's one way. Now, if you really want to talk to angels and communicate with angels and spirit guides, that's also something else. To me, I always either I feel them like a presence, like um, a presence. I feel a presence, but I also see them when I go into meditation, like a deep meditative trance. Um, there I see them, but otherwise on my day to day, like in 3D, I don't see them.
You do see them in meditation.
I do see them in yeah, in meditation, like in my mind's eye.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, because I think clairvoyance is my strongest gift.
Yeah.
And to me it's always in my mind's eye. Um, but that's also been very recent actually for me.
It has been.
Yes. And
Okay.
it's since I started giving meditations, I started posting my meditations on YouTube actually, and I was giving a lot of meditations on angels and like getting your cosmic support and everything like that. And that's when I would see them. Um, also like so that's one part, but also when I was getting the psychotherapy energy healing sessions that I mentioned in the start of this podcast, that's when also I would see them. Um, and yeah, I've had times sometimes they pop up like that and they have a message to say. Um, but yeah, it's very I would say I have my boundaries up in the sense of it's I only go looking when I want the intention or like when I want to go forward. It's rare that they sometimes it has happened to me where this is more to do like an ascended master like wants to send something to me and so it's just so clear like I see a color or I see a shape or I see the ascended master in front of me and I'm like okay I have to confront this but yeah I would say that I'm lucky for now that I because I know some people struggle where they're just constantly bombarded and it's really hard to put energetic boundaries and then there are some people that they have zero absolute connection and then I always say to people like use your strongest sense. You know, I love telling people that use your strongest sense. I'm such a visual person. I've always been such a visual person. But, you know, you could hear stuff like you hear voices or you hear sounds or like you could hear a color even. I don't know. People that are extremely sensitive to sounds or just sensations in your body. Like where do you feel things in your body and that can mean something to you. Um I always tell people to pay attention to how you receive messages and to start with that because that is how you develop, if you want to develop psychic senses, like that is the best way how because you already are leaning against something that is strong for you and that's how you can naturally progress. But we all have like if we go back to the clair senses, like we all have them within us. We all we all can activate them. Um it's a matter of like do you want to and then starting off with the senses that are strongest for you. But then, you know, when it goes back to angels, I also really believe it's not for everyone.
Hmm.
It's not for everyone
Why is that?
because I think spirituality can take on so many shapes and forms. And I think part of my mission is to show that to people that, you can be spiritual and really go down the yogic path. So you're really connected to deities and you really study Sanskrit and you go to kirtans and you really worship like one way of living. You can be spiritual and be a Christian. You can be spiritual and you talk to the Syrians and the Lyrians and the Palladians, and you can be spiritual and do none of that. But you're very much into manifestation and like the law of attraction. And I mean, I think there's just so many ways to be spiritual, and connecting with angels is not for everyone, also because um at least not in the like cosmic way, just because I think sometimes like again, it goes back to this question of like why do you want to connect with angels? Why is it important for you? um I'm going to use my mom as an example. I love my mom. She's a beautiful, beautiful human. And one of the biggest things that I've witnessed on her journey is she had such a deep need to connect with angels and see things that are not perceptible on the 3D. And I always, and when she couldn't do that, she felt so bad about herself. It was like this value, right? Of like, how spiritual am I? Kind of like this factor to decide how spiritual one is. And I always told her, like, but mom, like, that doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't change your worth, and it doesn't change how spiritual you are, and it doesn't change your sensitivity and what you feel and what you perceive, because you perceive in other senses. So stop focusing on that. I don't believe we are all meant to like channel a specific angel or a specific frequency or like connect with different ascended masters or beings of light. I think if it comes to you, use it as a gift if it's meant to, if they're asking you to, if it feels right for you. If not, you don't have to force it if you don't feel like it's right for you. I just want to put it out there because, yeah, now if you have the curiosity and you have the desire, you can definitely go there because it's totally open for you. And then I also ask yourself, why do I want it? Because intention, when you start working with different beings of light, is everything. Like, why do you want to work with them? Like, is it to use them, or
Right,
is it actually to work with them,
right,
to actually listen to them?
right.
Like, why do you want it? Again, it goes back to this thing of intention.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just to say I don't think it's for everyone. Um, and I think that's why in life you find people that are channels that have written texts and books and scripts, and they do conferences and guides and tours and all these things, because we need people that are very dedicated to that, to and devoted to that, to bring that forward. Or people only do it in one-on-ones or in ceremonies, or it's like very sacred containers. Um, I think that's important, yeah, for that to be respected.
And once you have that channel open, because I resonate with your mom actually quite a bit, because I'm definitely one of those people that I love, I would, I went through this path where I really, really wanted to connect with spirit guides, and I would sit in meditation and I would feel frustrated and that I couldn't connect. And I saw an astrologer for the very first time in my life, 2021, I believe, after my first miscarriage. And she had told me that apparently in one of my former lives, I was in the astral. This is the phrase that she used. I was in the astral a lot, and I was constantly helping other people, and always to their like bedside, always helping. And she didn't confirm this with me, but I kind of feel like maybe in this lifetime I have limitations accessing that
Hmm.
part, because maybe I did use it too much to help others versus focusing on myself. Does that sound like something?
I love this conversation. Do you know what your North Node is in astrology?
What's that?
Do you know your North Node in astrology? No? Okay. Yeah, I definitely think obviously your past lives leave a blueprint on what you're meant to
Yes,
experience in this life.
yes.
I know for myself, this is really interesting we're having this conversation, because the astrologer that I saw, she told me that like indeed in past lives I was so much in my genius, like mad scientist vibes, and like just really up for the collective, and like very intellectual, but like for the healing and the collective of like humanity and ascension and whatnot. But I was so disconnected from my heart. And so this lifetime is all about the opposite, which is like go back to your heart,
Yes.
feel something, like feel, and don't be in your mind, like feel. And so my journey is all about like connecting my mind and my heart in this lifetime. So indeed, like it could very much be that for you, you know, you've really excelled in those gifts and those skills in past lives that maybe in this life, it could be like a trauma. Maybe you don't want to go there anymore. You're like, no, 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 like that was too much because well, we also don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do, but or it could be this thing of like, oh, my soul wants me to learn something else this lifetime. What does it want me to learn? You know? Because obviously talking it, we can both agree that you have like this deep spiritual knowledge and this thirst and this quest for more and more and more. And it's like it's so obvious. Um, and it's also interesting to note, like, what does the soul really want? Like, does the soul want to go? That's why I was saying, like, it's not for everyone to connect with angels because it's not for everyone. I think everyone absolutely can see the signs and the synchronicities and the messages. Like, that is so tangible and easy. But now, if we're talking about seeing them, that is a path you choose to go on. And it is not for everyone. I don't know why I'm saying that, but yeah.
No, I think that's beautiful. And I also want to make a comment that I love that you say that this is the lifetime that you're returning to your heart. And that's exactly what you named your Instagram. The return to
Yeah.
the heart. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful and synchronistic. Was that planned? I'm sure it was intended, right?
Well, no, so the thing
Okay.
is, I created my whole original Instagram account is just my name, Mathilde Grimm.
Yeah.
And it's actually 1 year ago that I created this new Instagram page that you follow me on.
Okay. Okay.
So on my old Instagram page, there's basically everyone from like that I met since I was like 15 or something. Um, but I hit a point where I was so much like ping ponging back and forth, like, do I post this? Do I do this? Like I felt constantly like stuck. And one thing that was really hard for me, I felt stuck in my past. I felt like every time I posted, I was constantly thinking about these certain people of my life, people that I had not seen in like 6 years. So you're telling yourself, why are you placing so much importance on things from people from your past? Like what, like 6 years ago, Matilda, you're not even in contact anymore. You don't even want to be in contact. And so I just felt like I needed to glue myself off. And one could say, you know, you could have just unfollowed them or whatever. Like, yeah, it was a huge breaking process. And I think I still have, I'm only now having a full circle moment. And I think it's too early for me to talk about it. So I won't go too much into it. But I do want to say that, yeah, I needed to just, what is true is I needed to glue myself from this past and just like allow myself to be the me that I am without my past. And that is really hard for me. Really hard because my heart is like, but these people love me. And it's like, well, no, the mind is like,
Yeah.
these people love me. These people have validated me. These people have called me perfect in the past. Why do you want to go somewhere where you don't know what's gonna be? Like it's gonna be a black unknown. Why do you want to go there where you're not sure who's gonna love you? Matilda, why would you go there? Like I'm saying this funnily because it's the little me that's wounded that is saying that. But I had to do that because it's like I'm placing so much value, so much importance on people that are not even in what I'm talking about. Like sure they can like my photo, but do they really want to talk about higher consciousness and the 5D and like the Pleiadians and meditation and yoga and like all these things? Do they really want to talk about that? Like yeah, so the value was just not okay. I had to create a new Instagram account. Hence I created a new Instagram account. I went through many different names because my original name is still on my first Instagram page and I think that will change at some point. I'm still like yeah, so I've played around. I believe now it's actually Mathilde Hart. I changed it to Mathilde Hart because I wanted my name to be there. But of course, in the bio, it's a return to the heart because that is I feel like that is my whole journey. And that is like, I keep telling people, like, I just want to love. I want to give love. I want to be loved. I just want to love. And if I can create a community in that, I can die the next day. Like I'm good to go. Like that is just what I want. Like I don't want a Ferrari. Like no. Um and I think my journey is it's about sharing that and showing myself that it's possible and to receive love from people who really get it, like soul community, not just like someone who likes me because they like my hair or because they
Yeah.
like my outfit or
Yes.
because they know me from fifth grade and they're like, oh, she's cool, but I don't really care about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so talking about people pleasing, like I have unglued, literally unglued myself from that. And it's so crazy because I believed that I needed certain people in order to be successful. I believed I needed this person to be happy, or I needed this person to make it to the certain place, which is wild because now I'm like, wow, I actually like we're so different. And I don't know why I had glamorized this person because I'm clearly capable on my own with also the new connections that I've made. And it is really scary sometimes how the mind makes you believe something that is just it's just trying to protect you, but it's really crazy how it's trying to keep you safe and comfortable. And I'm telling you, again, like I think I said this before, but like you have to unglue yourself from that environment to then realize the truth. And Joita, that was like it was so painful for me. It was
Yeah.
so painful for me because it means leaving behind a place where I know I get guaranteed love and validation to go somewhere completely unknown. No idea if anyone was going to follow me on this new page. No idea if anyone was going to say anything or like support me or whatever. Do you know how like scary that feels? Still to this day, I'm like, did I do the right choice? Um, because it was, and I know that honestly was like a third catalyst for me. That was the third of the catalyst for me because it caused so much internal, yeah, heartbreak of like, but then again, right, the whole thing is about like go back to your heart and like what do you really want to share? What do you really want to say? Who do you really want to be? And like this whole year on this new page, I've just allowed myself to be so messy, so imperfect, so loud, so noisy, so this and that and whatever. And I'm literally like whoever sticks around and whatever happens from this like happens. I'm literally going all in because this is my sole purpose. And if I don't do it now, like, when am I going to do it? So, yeah, it's kind of like starting afresh to go all in, if that makes sense. Yeah,
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 no, that makes absolute sense. And I think it's everything you're saying, I'm resonating with so much because I thought about making a separate page. And it sounds as I'm listening to you, I'm like, this all sounds so like small. Like, yeah, just make a separate account. Just what's the problem? But I've been in that space too. I've been like, I love everyone that I have, in my life, but I also know that maybe they don't resonate with me. And also knowing at the same time that that's okay because everyone's on their own journey and we could love people where they are. And I've had that before too. I would post something really meaningful and I would get a compliment about my physical appearance and I would almost be like a little offended, not like,
yeah,
being not offended, but like kind of like, well, that wasn't my intention, but thank you. But then
yeah,
realizing like, whoa, that's okay. It's okay because that's where they are in their understanding is fine. And whether they got from the video that my hair looked nice or, versus the significant message that I wanted to portray to be received, we're not able to. That's the thing too. Like, although we have the intention, people can only meet us at the depth that they have met themselves. So being able to like hold that space is wonderful. But then breaking off and starting from scratch and starting from it's like literally you're exposed. It's like you're naked and you're exposing
yeah,
everything, but also at the same time everything that you share is so beautiful and it's resonant with you and it's authentic. So even if this is like me coaching myself all the time, I'm like, even if this person may not get it or they may be cringed out by
oh
because
yeah,
a lot of people don't even like to get super vulnerable because it makes them uncomfortable. like my own
Yeah.
family. Like I've separated
Yeah.
myself from my own mother and my sister. Like I have zero communication with them the last several years. And it's been so difficult, like heart wrenching. I feel like talking about like breaking out of a family structure and breaking apart, hopefully just temporarily. Like I'm hoping this is just a temporary thing, and it's I've never talked about this publicly before because it's so painful, and I want to respect their privacy and stuff. But also, like, what's really real for me right now is feeling alone and not feeling like I have that familial connection, but also knowing like, and I've sought like spiritual guidance on this, and I've been told that this is like a necessary energetic like purging that I'm needing to do to break free. And but it's difficult. It's very difficult and it's scary. And especially when you don't feel like you have like your core, what used to be like your core support, right? But then knowing like you, like you're beautiful, perfect evidence of this, like amazing people exist in the most like random ways. You know, we met in the like, and we have this connection that even though it's only been several weeks that we've been speaking, and I feel so much more connected to you than I do some people in my life that I've known for decades. And it's kind of like that's just kind of like for me a it's proof that I mean, everything is just divinely planned, and that and not holding expectations to others, right? To like meet you at a certain place, like, because I'm the kind of person like, and I struggle with this all the time, is like, what I give, I expect back the reciprocity. And I know there's a certain level of that where, like, yeah, kindness, I want to be received kind, I want to, be kind and receive kindness. But sometimes, as far as like depth goes, we can't expect others to if they're unable to meet us there, you know? So it's like it's a challenge that I'm constantly, like going through is like it's like a teeter, it's like a push and pull.
Wow. Okay. Do you want to talk about that? Because I'm the kind of person, I've always, so I have actually, I feel like I have this depth radar and I've always had this where it's like I can just tell how deep someone's gonna go with me. This can be a stranger, someone in my school, like in the past, or it can be someone on social media, like whatever. I just have this radar. I know like this person is gonna go this deep with me. Um, I meet the most beautiful, attractive guy I have ever met in my life. Okay, I'm still blushing right now. So beautiful. Guy comes up to me. He's like, I think he asked my Facebook. Yeah, I think it was my Facebook or my number. I don't remember. I was
Wait,
like,
wait,
oh my God.
just recently?
No, no,
Oh,
this was
okay.
this was like 2, 3 years ago, four, I don't know. The
Okay.
most beautiful guy, right? And so we start talking and everything. I give him my number and I was looking him in the eyes and I was like, he is so beautiful. And I already knew at that moment, I was like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work out because I knew where he was at, very much in like the party scene, like let's just go out tonight, have fun, let's go on the boat, whatever, all these things. And I was like, but I want to talk about the galaxy and the stars. Like, um, and so it didn't work out, like I didn't actually end up going. I didn't go out with his friends and anything. And also like the conversation was not there. There was no substance. So I think I'm someone actually I have this radar thing of like it's really weird. I don't know how to explain this, but I know how deep I can go with someone and when I notice like this person's going this depth, but I want to go here, I need to cut boundaries so many times. I have had to say no to so many people in my life because I was like, I'm not meeting you here. Like you're here, I'm here. Please come down with me. And it's not at all about like them or me. It's about like our needs. I
Yeah.
want to be here. You're here. You're not coming down. Okay, that's totally chill, but I'm cutting. Goodbye. And it's interesting that you have this need of, you say you give and you want it in return, whereas I'm just like, oh, if this person's not going deep with me, like, okay, ciao, like goodbye. I don't even want to expect it back because I already know they're not giving it back to me. And I think that's just it's just fascinating to me to see how we can operate differently
Yeah,
on what we
fascinating.
need.
That's such a
It's,
gift.
it's
That's
so
such a gift. And I love that you have that. I love that you have that internal compass, that internal,
well,
what?
yeah, no, no, I mean, yes, and it also means that because again, it's like saying no to so many people. After a while, you're like, is there something wrong with me? Because I have said no to so many people. Like, why am I not like everyone else? Why am I not like them? Why can't I do their thing? Why can't I just enjoy myself socially like these people? Why do I find that boring? Why does that not satisfy me? So yeah, I have questioned myself a lot in the past, and I've thought like, yeah, again, like what is wrong? What do I have to change? Why, you
What
know?
is wrong? What is wrong with me? That's the question that and it's so, yeah, so many times I've asked myself that as well. Like, why am I not interested in getting my nails done every single few weeks? Why am I not interested in buying these designer clothes? And why am I not interested in owning I don't know what it's like in Belgium with my fake background, but these little cups, everybody has these like Stanley cups.
Stanley?
I don't have a damn Stanley because I refuse to participate in the Stanley culture. But like to just even that whole like just the trends and people like identifying themselves with material items and like I mean everyone has their own journey, but I'm just like, what the hell is up with this like culture of like, people I mean I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but like identifying yourself and like finding identity in certain things versus finding it
Yeah,
within yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You know?
yeah. Yeah, I think my happiest me was I remember I was in Bali and like every day I was just in a bikini and like maybe a crop top and some shorts sometimes. Every day, just like that. Barefoot, by the way, did I mention barefoot?
Love that. Love that.
So, and that to me was like, yeah, I love that. I love that. And um we need the basics of like technology and yeah, clothing, but indeed personally, like I don't want to be a fashion designer and I don't want to work and look. Can we say looks? No. In English, can we say that?
Looks?
Like
What
in
do you mean?
French, we say luxe, which is like luxury. How do you say that in English? Like,
Like luxury?
but how do you say you don't want to work in luxury? No, you don't want to work in,
That sounds good. You don't want to work
yeah?
in luxury. Yeah,
Okay.
like in the luxury, in that aesthetic, and like the
Yeah.
superficial. And that's what it
Yeah.
is. To me, honestly, it's like superficial. It's like it's a mask, it's a facade, and it's like so many people. You witness like so many people. Oh, I want to have like like you said earlier. I don't want a Ferrari. Some people want the Ferrari because the Ferrari is their identity, and they sink their identity into these materials versus like let me know the person inside the car, like what's the personality of you, not your vehicle, like. And I know so many people, and it's fine. I mean, again, I always have to preface with like everyone's on their own journey, and that's fine. And like like Troy's dad, he has a really nice car, and at first when he got it I was like, I don't really understand, but like it brings him so much joy, so like just letting people have their like
Yeah.
their thing,
Yeah.
but also not letting that become your identity also, I think is you know
Yeah. Yeah, I think uh that is kind of what people end up doing when they have a lot of money, I guess, is like they prove themselves through what they have and what they own. And to me, that's like the biggest turnoff now, you know?
such a turn off, such a turn off.
Yeah. I there through the month of like May, I believe it was, I created a dating profile, like I was on a dating app. I created a
Yeah, you
profile.
did.
I was in a very flirty mood. When Gemini season peaks, I'm like, hello. And and I don't know. This it's so weird because it happened to me last year, but last year I did not go on the dating app. I was just like looking at all these different Facebook events and I was such a social butterfly. But this year I was like, let's just try this whole dating thing because I have never used a dating app before. So this was my first time. I used what was it? It's not Tinder and it's not Bumble. It's another one. It's very actually good to use.
Is it Hinge?
Like,
Plenty of Fish?
yes.
Bumble? Hinge?
No, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I went on it and I was like, oh, this is actually like very like not professional, but it feels actually like a nice experience to cruise through and everything. And you can just tell in 2 seconds that people like it, you have like 5 photos, right? You can put 5 photos back some or something like that. And so it's very interesting to see what people choose to portray, right? Because I chose one photo where I'm like, okay, I think I like this about myself. Then I chose one, I look like an idiot. I'm like a goofy person. I chose one that's like, oh, this is more sweet in nature. That's nice. I chose one that was more like activity based because I wanted to show I'm active. but it's like interesting to see what the other people show, like the guy on the other end. And it's
Yes.
interesting because there's this whole like macho thing for men. Oh, look at me with my watch, or look at me with the car. Look at me in the gym with my muscle. Look at me. It's very interesting to see what they will put because you got to show people who you are in like 5 photos and a couple sentences if you want, but like it's very interesting to see what people think is their success or is their value. And again, like you said, it's not to judge because we all have our journey, but I think it shows where we are as a society. Again, this whole, we were talking about the new earth, like the shift. When you're in the new earth, you're not even like, it's not even about that because you don't have to put up a profile. You don't have to put on a facade. Why? Because you love the other for who they are, not for if they did their hair well, if they put the makeup on, if they put the perfume on, if they put the pants on, if they put the whatever on. Like, no, it's because it's who you're shining. And the people, you immediately see that in the other person and you connect on that.
Yeah.
Not because she was wearing a red smoking hot dress, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, but that's just a whole talk on like facade and like putting a facade, an image of who you are when you're not really that. And it ties back to what I was saying before. Like my whole intention with Instagram was like, I want to be the me that I am on WhatsApp. Like it has to be the same person or I don't want to do this. I don't want to play that game. I've played it my whole freaking childhood, middle school and high school. I don't want to do it again. Um, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I keep thinking like a lot of people don't even know who they are. That's the kind of what I was thinking as you were saying that a lot of people don't really know who they are. Oh my God, I did when I was single, I did the dating profile thing and I was that girl. I posted those pictures of like I have to fit into like, okay, well, what's everyone else posting? It's almost kind of like a mimicry. Like I feel like we know children are, they talk about how children's brains are like whatever brain waves they're in when they're babies, they're constantly sponges and they're soaking things up. Like, and I feel like we still have that as adults because we're still comparing ourselves to others inadvertently, right? Like, and trying. So even as simple as breaking it down to like what photos am I going to choose for my profile? It's easier and safer to kind of post along the same thread of what other people are posting, right? Because it's like, oh, this person versus like what you're doing. Like, I'm just going to post myself being silly because that takes confidence, that takes guts, and
Yeah.
that takes like knowing who the hell you are to do that versus yeah, I think the whole dating profile thing is so, I mean, it's backwards anyway, because we're just basing pretty much, it's physical appearance first, and then, like you said, like 2 sentences maybe, right, about like who you are as a person, if that. So, but I feel like you talked about the New Earth. One thing that popped into my head, Dolores Cannon, are you familiar with her?
I am familiar with her, but I've never read her works.
She's freaking amazing.
I
So
know,
she,
I'm sure she is.
Yeah, so I've dabbled a little bit in a couple of her books. The Convoluted Universe. She has like I think 8 series of Convoluted Universe, and it's literally just a um um studies, or it's just basically her experience working with her clients when she puts them into regression, and then the stories that they share, and what how their lives have been, all the past lives and how they've weaved into this current life. But one thing that she had said during one of her lectures when she was talking about like us transitioning into the new earth is that eventually, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be in our lifetime, but we're the catalyst for this whole part. But she was saying eventually we're not even going to you're not even going to see like an appearance, you're just going to see light, and you're just going to see someone's soul, and you're going to be able to communicate telepathically. So there's like such a crazy thing to think of, like you're going to be fully exposed, like you won't be able to lie and say I'm this way when and I know some people do this when they get into relationships as well, which is awful, but I mean, some people choose to act a certain a way to appease the particular person that they're courting or interested in, when in reality they're not like that. They're just doing that to. But I it's just interesting how that's where we are right now. Is the ego is like so front and center, and it's like I want to fit in. I want this woman to think that I look hot. I want her to think that I make money. Like thinking that that's what every woman wants, right? I think I might be getting a little off topic, like with
No,
tangents, but
no, no,
it's like
no.
it all like
It's
just weaves into like just be yourself, but being yourself takes guts and it takes courage because there are it's so easy to, I mean, you're putting yourself online in general, like just is opening up for scrutiny. But if you say, if you're centered in who you are and what your intentions are, then there should be no fear, because who's meant to receive you will receive you. It's just, that's literally my head all the time. It's like, post the content, do the thing. If it's from your heart, and if anyone doesn't like it, like that's okay. Right? Like, I'm all over the place.
No, because it is like, um, there was a thought I wanted to bring forward. Now it actually went away. I was gonna say something and it
It's okay. It happens all the
that
time
went
to me.
away. But to jump off what you were saying, yes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, honestly, if you close your eyes right now, and anyone
Close
who's
my
listening,
eyes.
if you close your eyes right now, and it's your 90th birthday, I want you to imagine it's your 90th birthday, and you're in front of your birthday cake. Now imagine, what are you doing? Where are you? Who is around you? What are people celebrating you for? And that is how you know what matters to you today. Because that is what you want to be remembered for. So whatever
Wow.
you're doing and who you're around with and where you are when you're 90 years old, that is already important for you today, right here and right now. So if you're not seeing a Ferrari when you're 90 years old, it's probably not really important for you today. But maybe there is one, because maybe you want to drive Ferraris and maybe that is really important for you. And it can be, I actually there was some guy I knew, he loved cars and it's a passion of his. So
Yes.
I think that's so cool. Like I think that's really cool. But I love that exercise because you realize like you really see like, okay, what do I want to be able to do when I'm 90 years old? What do I want to still be able to say and share and experience, and who is actually around me, and where am I? Am I still in the same country, or am I on a beach, or like am I in a mountain, or like where am I? Um, because essentially it's like it always comes back down to that, like you're gonna arrive on your deathbed and what are you gonna say? Like, are you gonna be satisfied, or are you gonna be like, damn it, I wish I had done that? You know what my biggest regret is? I'm always like, damn it, Mathilde. As soon as you left high school, you should have started to blog. You should have started to share your story online. And you didn't because you were blah, blah, blah. And then I go like, and all these thoughts. And it's like, no, because you were incapable of doing that back then. You didn't have the tools. You weren't emotionally regulated to do it. You thought you were going to die if you did it. It was impossible for you to do it, Mathilde. So you didn't do it. So you can't have a regret. You literally, you wanted to. You already knew back then you wanted to, but you just couldn't. And that's okay. Like that is when we love ourselves. And that is when, yeah, it's always reevaluating. Like, am I doing the best that I can with what I know, with what I have? And
Yeah.
maybe in the past, that's what you did and that's what you did. But like today, can you do something?
Yeah. Yeah. And that question just posing, that beautiful, so beautiful, that question of posing, I mean, that launched me completely out of ego when you said, where do you see yourself when you're 90? Because that's
Yeah.
like, and that, like that right there dismantles all the noise. And it's
Yeah.
like, wow, okay, what are my priorities? What do I value? You
Yeah.
know, what do I truly value? That's, ooh, that's huge. Where do you see yourself at 90?
It's funny because like a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, well, I still want to be able to do the splits. Like that was one of my goal. Like I still wanted to be flexible and agile. And now I'm like when I tapped into the vision again, I was like, oh, I'm not doing the splits anymore. So maybe I'm not so much centered around like physical activity. Um, Although obviously I want to be healthy, but there's a big emphasis on like the people who are around me. And it's interesting. I mean, that is my chapter right now. It's about building the community around me. So I think it mimics, like, that's why I give that exercise, is because what is important to you in the future right now is what's important for you today. Right? Because a couple of years ago, I was really into yoga. I was doing yoga so much. Like I was teaching, I was in it, I was full on. And so, of course, at age 90, I was like, I still want to be able to do the splits. Like that's
Yeah.
important for me.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I love to reassess. not all the time, but like at least once a year and do that exercise to see if things have changed. And right now, like the people who are around me, family and friends, that's everything. And like um and service, that is really important. The
That's good.
connections.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I love it. I love it. I'm yeah, I'm just really loving this interaction because that question right there just woof, like really just opened up something in me, which I'm really glad you asked that because I never even, but we don't even think that far, you know? Um, oh my goodness. So much time has already passed. Oh goodness. So I think so for wrapping up here, which this whole conversation, I can't wait to listen back to this whole video because I feel like we've talked about so many wonderful things. What is your like if you could give one message or two messages like to I want to do two separate things. I want you to tell me what you would tell your younger self and then also like just a message for anyone who is lost, what like on their journey, like what piece of advice would you share?
Okay, so for my younger self, that is an easy one because it's it's been the work I've been doing the past years. Which is you are so safe to be seen in your wildest expression, in who you are. You're allowed to take up space. Yeah, and that you don't have to run away and you don't have to hide. You are worthy just the way that you are. Yeah, to let that little light shine. That would be for my younger self. Um, and then I'm smiling because obviously like this whole journey is about learning how to do that. So my little self could not have known how to, and that's the whole point, right? Like you forget so that you can remember. Um, and then your other question was if someone is feeling lost.
Yeah, like if someone's feeling lost on their, because you're so wise, like you're a fully embodied teacher, like you just have so much wisdom. So if someone is lost and feeling like they're not on their path or feeling, um, scared to step out and try something new, let's say they've just been doing the same thing because change is scary, um, what what would you offer them?
I would say feel the fear and do it anyway. That is what's coming up to me. And not in a macho, like, go hard, do it, we push forward. That's not how I was seeing it. The vision that I got was actually someone in nature lying against a tree, allowing yourself to be supported by the tree. So actually that would be the first step is enclosing yourself in nature. Just because the nature is so grounding and it's literally a vortex grounding you to the earth's core, which is like think of gravity, literally like being sunk to the earth's core. And when we're in doubt and confused, it's because we're in the head,
Yeah.
okay? Because the head doesn't know. So we're always scrambling in our minds. So the first thing is to ground yourself. And for me, it's always nature. And I can only encourage someone who is feeling worried, lost, confused to go into nature. Even if it's grass, like lie down on the grass, let yourself be supported in nature, deep belly breath, nature, the sound of nature for a couple of minutes. And then when you have this sense of groundedness, maybe you will hear your intuition come forward. And I'm saying if you can't hear your intuition, if you can't hear the voice of God, if you can't hear the voice of your spirit guides or any other angelic being or being of light or whatever, then I would encourage you to do that thing that you're afraid of. Why? Because I literally am being shown that there's nothing to lose in this life. Like the only thing you have left to lose is not trying because you would never know. So you can try, and if it's really terrible, okay, you'll learn. I think the like the most precious and beautiful thing in life is to learn. We make so many mistakes and it's okay. I have learned that like you are not perfect. You're not born to be perfect. You're not here to memorize scripts and lectures and just like endless information to just regurgitate them. Like you have to live this life, experience it. So if you're afraid of making the wrong choice, I always say this, there's no wrong choice. You only have choices and you get to choose. You'll choose one thing today, and maybe in 1 year, you're like, damn it, I should have chosen the other thing. And again, it all comes back down to this thing of we're always doing our best. Each time, every day, we're doing our best with what we know, with what we can, with how we feel. It's always our best. And so just take one step forward. And maybe it's going to be completely different to what you've envisioned. Maybe it's something and it's a step forward in the direction that you see. Whatever way it is, it's like keep moving forward one little step at a time, knowing that like you can always change course, you can always change direction. You're not like doomed or like failing or it's not the end of the world. You can always change direction and like you are co-creating life with God, with spirit, with the universe. Literally you with every action that you take. And that is yeah, all that I wish to say. It's like keep grounding yourself and keep moving forward. Know that you are so freaking loved. Like sometimes I wish I could just show people, but I know I can't, but it's like I wish I could show them what I feel because I think it's the moments where we forget that life becomes so complicated. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all your worries can, vanish. I think there are problems that are real. They
Yeah.
are real, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. And it's not to compare our problems because your problem is your problem and someone else's problem is their problem and they're all freaking valid. But it's like, if we also remember to connect with God and spirit, I really believe that takes off a lot of our mental load. Absolutely. 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 So that was a really long answer.
No, it was beautiful. It was perfect. So giving ourselves grace, not feeling that we're a failure. I think that's massive. Like that's huge
Yeah.
because we go through things in life, and we both talked about, you talked about veterinary school.
Yeah.
Um, in off camera, I shared my experience with being a flight attendant for 6 months. Always wanted to be a flight attendant ever since I was a little girl. Did it, hated it.
Yeah.
Afterwards, felt like such a failure. When in reality, like that position brought me so many amazing friends. It brought me, everything is like a stepping stone. So I think that's so beautiful, Mathilde. You are so lovely, and I'm so grateful that we got to get to connect and continue get to connect. And I'm going to end the recording shortly, but can you remain on camera because I want to chat with you just for a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. But before
Yeah.
we go, will you mind sharing where people could find you, please?
Yeah. So you can currently find me on Instagram at Mathilde Hart. That may be subject to change. So if it changes, Joetta will write it in the notes of the
Yes.
podcast. So make sure to look at the notes of the podcast.
Yes.
That is where I'm most active. That is where you can see all the latest gatherings because I host online gatherings that you can join throughout the month. And there's all the free meditations on YouTube that you can find there as well.
Yes, thank you. And as a participant of your most recent Lionsgate event, you are so fantastic and wonderful, and you provide such a safe, warm space. So anyone that is needing that, like you're the girl for that because you're absolutely lovely. And
Um,
yeah, it's a blessing. You have such a gift, and I just adore you so so much. And yeah, just to also say hello. This is the first time doing anything on video, so if you're listening to this on Spotify or any other podcast hosting platform, in the show notes there will be a link for the video. I don't know, maybe on YouTube. I'm assuming I'll upload this. I don't know. I don't, we'll figure it out. But I'll leave the link with all the information, with Mathilde's information, with my information. And thank you guys all for listening. And thank you so much, Mathilde, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's such a blessing. And thank you for everyone who listened. Thank you.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to connect.
Yes.